When I first started losing weight, I barely made any progress in the first 3 months, but I kept at it, and shockingly, in the next 3 months, I had exponential results. So in today's video, let's cover why you will see minimal results at the start of your weight loss journey. So going over what happened to me specifically, I spent a lot of time within the first 3 months to half a year just trying out different diets, going through a bunch of trial and error to see what works and what doesn't work for my own body. And at the time, I saw it as me not succeeding. I saw every single failure as just another letdown, and I did not realize that at the end of the day, this was the process of learning to see what works for my own body. And this is the problem with a lot of people nowadays. They just can't differentiate between learning and complete failure. So every single time they have a little setback, they just can't comprehend how that is going to help them in the future. If I could give a great analogy for weight loss, I would compare it to an overnight success. A lot of people will think, oh, this person just out of nowhere went on the diet and lost the weight. But similar to an iceberg, there's so much more progress and so many more mental things that they did beforehand that then allowed them to actually show the visible results. So when you look at someone who lost weight, it may just look like they had some overnight success grandiose moment, but when you look back in their life, you can actually see how many different diets they tried, all the different techniques they were working on, all the failures beforehand. They stacked up all those losses, realized that those methods didn't work, took the best ideas, implemented them into their diet, and that's what allowed them to lose the weight. So while pondering this, I came up with quite a genius idea of dieting having two different phases. Let's cover the first phase, which is the psychological phase, which lasts from 0 to 6 months on average. This is the part of your dieting and weight loss journey where it feels like you're making absolutely no progress. If you look back to my journey, months 0 to 3 or like 0 to 6, I was barely making any visible changes within my body. But what was going on behind the scenes was far more powerful than what was going on in the visible world. The key words are, it feels like you're making no progress, but you're making tremendous changes. It's just that process is invisible right now. It's in your brain. As I said, there's two phases. There's building the skill of weight loss, and then there's actually the implementation of those skills. Right now, we are currently learning. We are developing our blueprint for weight loss. We're developing the skill. It's like any other skill. You take driving lessons before you can actually go and drive. Phase number 1 is just like taking driving lessons. You're picking out the best ideas that work, the things that don't work. You're building up this one and final blueprint that you will be able to hone down on later in the future, which will give you the results. But it feels demotivating at the moment because this is a lot of work and you see very minimal changes. What you need to understand is that weight loss is exponential. Once you get past this phase, you will lose an exponential amount of weight instead of the weight that you're losing now. Now, during this phase, you can still lose a couple of pounds, a couple of kilograms here and there, but it's just not going to be as insane as when you hone down on what works. So speaking of, phase 2 is the physical phase, which typically lasts from 0 to 12 months on average. This is the part where you implement everything that you know and you see the crazy exponential life-changing results that you have learned over the past couple of months. This is where in my journey I realized that what works for me is tracking calories, upping my protein intake, working out, and what doesn't work for me is something like keto. What didn't work for me at that point was intermittent fasting, so I disregarded everything that I didn't like, which was in that phase 1 section of our weight loss journey. And now transitioning to phase 2, we have everything down mentally on check, all the diets, all the techniques, and now we just implement it. The only hard part here is just sticking to it. Once we already know the whole mental framework of our diets, all we have to do is just reference back to the plan, see what works, see what doesn't, see what we like, and push forward. I hope this can give you some insight and maybe motivation if you are trying to lose weight. If you want to make faster progress, press the first link in the description, join our free Skool group, which I will make paid in the future. Consider subscribing if I give you anything of value, and don't forget to stay savvy with your diet.